Rilo begins floating over to Mark, releasing his own magic from himself. He stops about a few feet from Mark, becoming trapped in the magic that Mark still had up. After a few seconds, Mark opens his hand and everyone relaxes as they can move again. Fuson walks up from behind Rilo and pats him on the back, pushing him forward a bit, giving him a serious nod. Rilo looks back to see Siora encouraging him as well. Rilo turns forward to face Mark again and slowly walks up to him. His hand shaking, he builds up the courage to put his hand on Mark's shoulder. Mark snaps out of his despair for a moment and softly moves Rilo's hand from his shoulder and gets up. In the middle of the silence, they hear a shattering sound from the northwest in the far distance, followed by a crackling that echoes from the same direction and washes over the city and past it in the opposite direction. But no one pays any attention to this other than Aultemus, who looks around in the sky. "You all need to go before something happens. Please," Markon struggles to whisper out. He stares at the hammer through the hole in the wall across the pavilion. Mark tries to influence the hammer, but he notices some blood on his head, and as the hammer moves a tiny bit from the crater it made, Mark winces. The shattering and crackling noise travels over the city again. Mark doesn't notice it, but the group turns to Aultemus, who is already listening to it. "I can see the smoke coming from your ears. You've been using your brain too much," Fuson softly says in the silence. The occasional noise of fighting in the distance through the city punctuates the somber moment. Aultemus walks up to Mark. "Did the Astromancer leave?" he asks. Siora reads the situation and holds her hands behind her back and begins channeling her magic. Mark's eyes dart to her as he shakes his head with a no, with a menacing glare. "Yes, but his friend is still here. You might be able to catch him. He wanted to go to the Nexus," Markon utters, before picking Venus up and walking away. Aultemus tries to say something before Mark gets too far, but Siora stops him. No one says anything. The group turns around and heads west, out of the city. The city is barren and gets more and more quiet the farther out they go. They approach the outer gate, and after about 20 minutes of walking, they see a small squadron of humans in military armor. Fuson looks up and notices another squadron of red and green Valkyries speeding past. Aultemus realizes his cloak is ripped, leaving his arms and face exposed, and gets nervous. The squadron consists of 5 humans in dark red armor, adorned with purple cloth. As they approach, Aultemus and the group stops to meet them. The captain begins to speak. "Judging by the Valk and the Elf, you all aren't Kree soldiers. Are you prisoners who escaped? What did they do to the blue one?" His voice projects well and reverberates in the area. The group look at each other as Fuson tries to drum up another story, but Aultemus interrupts him. "I'm just not from around here," Aultemus says plainly. The captain gives him a look. "Where are you all headed?" He follows up. "The Nexus?" Aultemus responds. The captain gives him another look. "Are you with the group that was spotted leaving the city in that direction? Scouts report a small convoy that left before teleporting somewhere." "No, but it was a whole convoy?" Siora asks. "Yes, there was a man in weird clothes with about 10 to 15 guards. If you aren't with them, I can only give you a city pass. Passes to the Nexus have been restricted, and you'll have to set up a meeting with the leaders of Paishan and Cyrtis." The captain explains as he pulls out an envelope and hands Aultemus 4 small stubs of cardboard. He salutes them, motions the squad, and continues walking forward. "Well, we'll get to relax for a little while, at least," Fuson remarks. "What are you talking about?" Aultemus asks. "Oh, people in Paishan and Cyrtis just don't know me very well, so there's not that many fans. And their 2 leaders are pretty cool, from what I've heard, at least. They're a couple. They used to be their own respective leaders of their cities, but then they're so close to each other that they've ended up forming a union. And the cities are just boring and stable, from what I've heard," Fuson explains. The group begins their week-long trek west. Fuson blinks, and his eyes turn into a pearl color once again, but no one notices. His shoulders shift from stiff and back to a subtly more relaxed position. The vast expanse in front of them, tall mountain ranges to their north that stretch far beyond, creating a wall on the right-hand side of their vision. And before them, plains broken up by some forests in the distance, and a river coming from the mountains. Far, far in the distance, they can see the top half of the Nexus, its swirling pale purple and pink energy merging into the sky at its peak, with floating landmasses around the funnel. Fuson can make out a couple more squadrons of Valkyries flying from overhead. He looks out as though he was seeing for the first time. Siora glances at Fuson and notices the change in the color of his eyes, but doesn't say anything. A couple days into their journey, along an unassuming part of the road, Fuson abruptly stops and hunches over the side of the road. They stop to look at him. It's quiet, a tradesman having passed along with his caravan a long time ago and had given them some supplies. After a beat, Fuson throws up. The others recoil, and Ciora walks up to him, casting her magic to relax him. "Oh God, what happened?" she asks. Fuson just shakes his head. "Let's make camp. We've walked enough for today." The sun sets as they sit around a campfire with the crudely boxy-shaped rock formations Aultemus conjured up once again. Ciora motions that she'll be right back, but Fuson stops her. Whoa, Sai. Where are you going? You always do this." "Sai? Excuse me, I could be going to the bathroom," she responds. "Yeah, you could, except you say you do, usually. And you said you did earlier. So what's this secret ritual you keep doing?" "Nothing, it's private," as she storms off. "She told me while you guys scouted in the city that it's just something where she feels bad and needs to be alone. I think you should just ignore it," Aultemus explains. Fuson's face goes from puzzled to regretful as they just sit in silence. Upon Ciora's return, she breaks the silence. "So what was that earlier? You hurling out of nowhere?" "Yeah, I don't know what that was. I feel fine," Fuson shrugs. "I know what it was," Rilo mutters. Everyone stops to look at him, Fuson nervous. Ciora lets out a long, drawn-out sigh. "You killed the guard, and it caught up to you. It's normal," she says. Fuson rolls his eyes, but says nothing. "You okay? If you need to let it off your chest, you could just say so. I've never killed anyone either," Aultemus says. Everyone else nods. "No, it's fine. I think the throwing up got it out of me." "Hey, has anyone ever told you your eyes are a completely different color sometimes? I'm not sure if it's the lighting or..." Ciora asks. "What?" No one's ever said that to me before," Fuson scoffs. Trent, Adamar, and a group of 10 soldiers emerge from a portal in the middle of a forest. The trees are pale, but look alive and well. They have amber leaves, and interspersed between them, other trees made out of blue and purple crystal, with leaves made out of blue energy, yet still act and feel like plain leaves. The trees are mixed evenly, but the crystal trees get more dense as they walk south. A quick look around reveals the vast mountains to the north are much closer. To the south, the forest continues, but the crystal trees reveal the humming of the nexus shooting above the tree line. It commands everyone's senses as the pink-purple glow from the spire reflects in their crystal trees, illuminating the floor like water. For the size and violent nature of the structure, it isn't as intense as one might think while in its presence. It emits a hum, the sound like flowing water. The light it radiates isn't blinding as it fluctuates from shades of pink and purples, and the funnel erupting from a crack in the ground, and the rocks surrounding the gash are huge chunks of earth that surround the crater where the fissure exists. The terrain is rocky and uneven, but not devoid of life. Plants and grass crack through the rocks, and instead of green, they're more teal or turquoise, with a slight glow to them. There appears to be a large dark tower of stone, where the side facing the nexus is shiny and covered in metal. The top has a balcony-like structure that extends out into the direct flow of the funnel of energy. "How much time do you need?" "I'll come by tomorrow and drop off another vessel in Philaria," Trent says. Adamar winces and turns to Trent. "Why are you bringing Philaria here?" Adamar responds. "Because she can hunt Aultemus and his friends to get them off our backs. Plus, it'll get her out of the way," Trent explains back. "I guess it's fine. Is she working alone, or are you bringing a star guard?" I might if she needs help later on." "And why are you expending resources for that group if we're just here to leave the planet?" "They're stranded on the planet," Adamar presses. Trent just kind of looks at him and doesn't respond. "I should only need a week, depending on what the research center has." Trent shrugs and takes the portal away, leaving without a second thought. Adamar leads the group of soldiers toward the tower, the wind slowly picking up and the faint sounds of lightning crackling within the swirling energy. 8 of you stay outside, 2 with me," Adamar commands as they approach the door. The group look around and quietly decide on which of the 2 of them will go with Adamar. The rest begin taking off their things and setting up a camp. The front double doors to the tower are large but plain, as though the bottom half of the tower was made in a rush, and Adamar puts his hands in the middle where there appears to be a lock. It's metal and quite old and doesn't have its shine anymore. A pulse of pink energy comes from his shoulder and down to his hand as it pulses and blasts the lock off. The door swings open from the shock. The main entryway is barren, as dust and debris on the floor hover in the air from the doors not having been breached in a long time. The guard to Adamar's right creates a flame in his hand and compresses it into a smaller but much brighter white bulb. He sends it forward as the three of them head inside. After climbing through the length of the tower, they reach the top chamber. It's an ovular room where the opposite end from the front door is open and extends out, close to the swirling energy. There are tables with various contraptions for reading and recording the energy, but lack anything alchemical. Adamar walks up to the front open portion of the room and reaches out with his hand. It begins to glow pink and purple as it matches with the nexus, and small jolts of lightning spread from his fingers. A crackling and shattering noise comes from this energy, as its sound travels out and into the world. Aultemus and the group climb over a tall hill to reveal the twin cities they saw in the distance. The cities have masterfully sculpted stonework, creating a skyline that lines in the middle, where it is divided by a river. There's no surrounding wall and one major bridge at the center that connects the two cities. The color palette of the cities is different, as the older buildings show a time when the cities were still separated. The main structures are two tall spires on the opposite ends of the river, curved toward each other to give a satisfying appearance. Where they meet in the middle, above the river, the two spires hold a perfectly spherical room. As the group approaches, they walk through the farmland, an occasional guard patrol watching them. Another wave of crackling washes over the sky. They walk for about an hour into more and more dense urban sprawl. The stonework improves, and the more simple farmhouses turns into elaborately carved shops with smiths and their meticulously detailed outlets. Aultemus looks in awe as he autopilots behind the group and stares at each of the new designs. Eventually, he blanks out and finds himself in a quiet park as the group stops. He snaps back to his senses. How are they able to have all this immaculate stonework? Aultemus asks. While everyone faces Aultemus, Siora sits on a shaded bench with perfectly carved, smooth seating that would fit anyone's behind. As she sits anxiously, shaking one of her legs, she takes several deep breaths. Fuson rolls out before being interrupted. War's never really reached this place in a really long time. Creedom has its own problems, and Crystallum doesn't really try to pick fights, Rilo stammers out. You guys go on ahead. I'm going to stay here, Siora blurts out from the bench. Aultemus responds with a nod and starts heading deeper into the city. The other two follow him, Rilo giving Siora a wave and Fuson looking back at her for a few seconds, his eyes a pearl color. The three boys get into a crowd as they try to wrestle through. The traffic on one of the main streets is unusually dense. In the commotion, Fuson manages to slip away and head back in the direction they came. Aultemus and Rilo don't notice and keep moving forward. While bumping with the citizens, one of Aultemus's scales on his arm snags itself on a woman's dress and causes a loud ripping sound as it creates a small tear in the weave. She yelps in surprise and turns to see Aultemus's blue visage. The yelp turns into a scream and everyone quickly turns to look. A small portion of the crowd stares at Aultemus and backs away, creating a small crater in the crowd. A guard emerges from the crowd, telling everyone to calm down and go about their business. He eyes the two of them. They look around and notice that Fuson is gone, as Aultemus fumbles to get the tickets out of his pocket. Siora remains on the park bench, hunched over with her arms holding herself and legs shaking. She's taking deep breaths and trying to remain silent as to not draw any attention. The park is quiet, and there isn't much traffic around her, but she hears some footsteps getting closer to her, but doesn't look up as she braces for an impending interaction. Are you okay? A voice comes out. It sounds like a female voice. Siora is slightly relieved as she looks up to see Fuson. Siora scrunches her eyebrows, confused, but tries to change her expression. Oh, yeah, I'm fine, thanks, Siora stammers out. I'm not Fuson, she says. Siora now looks confused, almost certain that she didn't hear the correct thing. What? What do you mean? Siora looks at her eyes and notices that they're a pearl color. Fuson has teal eyes. Yes, he does. It's a weird tell, but I guess people say that the eyes are just the windows to the soul or something like that. I always thought you could tell, so I just decided to come up and tell you now, she explains. Yeah, I thought I felt something different, like spirit magic? When your eyes turn pearl. I didn't know what it meant, though. Siora replies. My name is Elidir. You might know who I am, but I'm trapped in Fuson's body, she explains. Elidir? Like the deity? I'm not following. Yeah, I don't get it either. This kind of just happened one day. I found myself in an entirely white room, and Fuson in the middle of a circle. He didn't notice me, but when he was asleep, I could move him in and out of it, and take over his body. Sometimes I can do it when he's conscious, if his mind wanders, Eladir explains. I don't know what to say, Siora nervously says. That's okay. I just wanted to check up on you. The boys had their own thing to do, and I figured they were fine. Yeah, there's just no way, Siora nervously giggles, taking short, rapid breaths. Eladir sits down on the bench next to Siora, but keeps about a foot between them. They sit in silence for a while, as Siora keeps taking deep breaths. Eladir doesn't have a shred of awkwardness to her demeanor, and just observes their surroundings, sometimes catching herself staring at any people that walk by. You know, I don't know how people are anymore. It feels like it's been a couple 100 years that I've been gone. It's kind of scary, not knowing how people will act or respond. Eladir continues, as Siora, face still in her hands, taking deep breaths. After a few minutes, she regains her composure, wiping her tears from her face with her arm. Isn't a deity supposed to mean that you're good at everything? Siora finally responds through ragged breaths. Eladir stops and stares at the air in front of her, thinking for a bit, unfazed but confused. She turns to Siora, who appears more nervous. I'm not really sure how I was even born. I saw mortals being born all the time, but I've no memory of a younger me. And time just kept going faster and faster until it stopped. And I woke up in a sort of purgatory, sometimes being able to control this body. But I really never knew what I was doing, or what to do now. Siora scoffs and replies, "Yeah, I don't know how to help you there." "Oh no, it's okay. I'm here to help you. I guess I just got carried away. What do they call it? Venting?" Eladir replies. "Maybe you can vent next." Siora smiles. "Oh, I don't have anything to vent about. I just feel sad sometimes, or overwhelmed, or I just need to be somewhere quiet to decompress. It's so shitty, and I just don't know why it happens." She pauses. "I thought that distracting myself with this adventure would help, but I just don't know where it's leading me. The people are nice, but I just can't shake this weird feeling. I feel nervous, that I hold myself back a lot. Like when we were trying to calm down Mark when the Venus thing happened. I couldn't think of the right mood spell. Everything went so fast." Siora rambles, tearing up. She stops for a moment. I have a question. Did you know the other deities? What are they like?" "Oh yes, Mizex, Nerua, Dromo, and Zephyr. I didn't really talk to them much. I like being with the mortals the most, so I would usually just be hiding among your lot. I would talk to Zephyr most of the time, sometimes Mizex, but Nerua was the most isolated. I don't know much about Dromo either, but supposedly he interacted with mortals way more than I did," Eladir happily explains. Siora giggles to herself. "That's nice. I was supposed to meet Dromo once, but I never got the chance." "What were you doing before this?" Eladir asks. Siora snickers. "I was just a doctor's apprentice, and I would do spirit research on the side. They were both part-time because I hated doing just one thing. I guess I'm just pretty okay at spirit magic, but no matter what I did, I just knew I could feel that other people were also unhappy, and it was just compounding on me. But I feel like they had reasons to be unhappy, which made me more upset, because maybe they didn't deserve it, and how come I just feel like this?" Eladir looks around quizzically before turning back to Siora. "Unfortunately, it's just a side effect of spirit magic. I haven't experienced that myself, but I'd like to join you in battling it together if you'd like." Siora smiles faintly, and her nose starts to turn a little red from her emotions welling up. "Thanks. Truly," she sniffles. Eladir smiles as another shattering and crackling sound flows over the city. Aultemus and Rilo walk into a busy atrium in one of the tall central towers of the city as they follow a guard that met them on the street, now holding their cards. The guard escorts them through the bustling people, all going about their day. The interior design is simplistic and uses subtle carvings in the ground through slopes and divisions to create separations in the room. They walk past various attendants behind booths and windows in the walls, all serving people in lines and in the building. The guard points them to a stone in the cylinder-like room at the end of the hall. People are walking in and out of it as the floor moves up and down to let people in and out, while a worker commands the floor to move accordingly. The three of them wait a bit before getting on as the guard signals to the attendant and he sends them up. The elevator stops and they enter a court where a lone dark-skinned woman sits at the end, on top of a judge's bench doing paperwork. She looks up and she sees the guard walk in with the other two in tow. "Ren, is this a joke?" she yells across the room. "No, ma'am," the guard responds. "Excuse me, have you seen the man behind you?" "What did this one do?" she yells back. Three already at the foot of her bench. The woman has a tight curly afro, controlled at her crown with a dark purple hairband that forms most of it behind her head. The cloth has a diamond design on it that circles around the band. She gets up from her desk and walks up to the three of them, eyeing Aultemus suspiciously, before grabbing his forearm and letting go immediately, feeling the texture of his skin. "Oh, what the hell?" she yells as she recoils. "Okay, Ren, you can go. Thanks, sweetie." "Alright, why are you two in here?" The guard bows slightly as he walks back into the elevator. "We got this card," Aultemus begins as he reaches back toward Rilo, who hands him the card the soldier gave him at Creedom. From the soldier, he just kind of gave it to us. We were in Creedom during the invasion. "Creedom? What were you two doing there?" the woman questions. "That's just where we were. We were looking for someone," Aultemus explains. "Who?" she responds almost immediately. "We don't know his name. He just... an Astromancer, I think. Supposedly he was in Creedom, but he escaped before we got there. So we're on our way to the Nexus, since that's where our next lead is, but I heard your city was barring access?" Aultemus responds. In the Nexus? "We haven't heard anyone get past the perimeter," she responds, pacing around as she thinks. She unravels her shirt sleeve and presses on a rock on her wrist, which begins to glow. She looks back at Aultemus and Rilo with her hands on her hips. The two men look at each other, not knowing what to say. After about a moment, a man comes in from the elevator, the same height as the woman, with skin the same shade. He's wearing another stone shoulder and chest piece with elaborately carved swirling designs. He has no hair and dark purple eyes. "Yes, ma'am," he speaks as he casually walks in. "Don't ma'am me, Zev. You doing some other important work instead of helping me with all this paperwork?" Zev shrugs with a smirk before answering. "Yes," he says simply. The woman rolls her eyes. "What do you think of these two?" she asks him. Zev looks at her as though she asked a silly question as he looks at Aultemus and Rilo. "Looks like you're harassing these gentlemen. Am I right, brothers?" Zev raises an eyebrow as he studies them. "What? This man is blue and spiky. Look. Touch him," she says in a raised voice. "I ain't touching nobody, Amina," he quickly replies back. "She wasn't harassing us. She..." Rilo tries to get out. "Oh, I bet," Zev smiles, cutting him off. "Anyway, what do you and your friend here need?" "We need access to the Nexus. I think the guard just brought us here because I was causing a commotion," Aultemus replies. Zev nods and looks at Amina. "What do you think?" Zev asks Amina. "They're not allowed there. No one is. What if they destabilize it? Or kill themselves? We're liable," Amina snaps at Zev. "It's being destabilized right now. What do you think those shattering and crackling sounds are?" Aultemus says. The two look back at him. "We haven't any reports of the breaches in the perimeter. How do you know?" "Could just be a rare phenomenon," Zev replies. "The Astromancer from Creedom is there now. Or one of his friends is. He escaped the attack and is probably finishing up some last-minute work here." Rilo gets out. A glimmer of pride shines in his eyes. "So?" Amina replies quickly. "So he can teleport," Aultemus retorts. "What if one of you went with us to make sure we weren't up to anything?" The two look back at each other. "There's no way in hell I'm leaving this city. I'm too busy, and so are you, Zev," Amina responds. "I could spell a couple days ago with him, which means you two are only allowed a few hours once we get there. We're not sticking around," Zev explains bluntly. "Understood?" "That's fine," Aultemus agrees, wasting no time. "Zev, you got all this other shit to do? What do you mean you're going?" Amina scolds him. "It'll just be a couple days, or less," Zev hesitates. "It'll be fine." He smirks at Amina. "Is just you enough?" Aultemus asks. Zev and Amina give him a peculiar look. "Oh yeah, I'm more than enough," Zev responds. "I can't believe you. You get out of here," Amina says as she turns around and goes back to the room. Aultemus and Rilo walk back out and proceed through the elevator. Siora and Eladir are still in the park, exchanging stories and talking to each other. Siora seems much more comfortable. So is Fuson just knocked out right now, or what? Something like that? I don't think he's learned how to stay conscious yet, but he isn't aware of it. I learned pretty early on, so I generally can see and hear the same things that he does if I choose to, Eladir responds. I think I'll have to talk to him while you guys go to the Nexus. I don't really like it there anyway. What? Are you sure? We might need you or Fuson. I don't exactly know what's going to happen. You guys will be fine. They'll have you at least, Eladir smiles. You're easily the most competent in the group. Siora blushes and looks at her feet. No way. You're crazy. Rylo's insanely talented. I'd say he's the strongest. He's got better instincts than I do. I think given the right situation, you would do way better than him. Let's just call it my divine intuition, Eladir snaps back with a smile. The two notice Aultemus and Rylo far in the distance, returning on the bridge as they jog back to the park. Siora takes time to recompose herself and stands up. Are you leaving? Siora asks, looking back at Eladir. No, I think it's time Fuson met me. Whatever adventure you guys go on, I think I'll sit it out and meet you guys back here. I feel like we're going to need the alone time, Eladir says, looking around aimlessly. Siora is noticeably surprised. How do you know we'll be back in the city? Siora asks quizzically. I don't, but let's see what the boys say. Should I tell them about you while we're gone? Sure, why not? Eladir smiles. Aultemus and Rylo are running across the bridge leading to the park, but they're between the dense crowds using the main bridge. I gotta go. Tell them you lost Fuson in the city. He flew off or something, Eladir blurts out as she begins jogging in the other direction and flying in between the buildings, out of sight. Just as Rylo and Aultemus reach the park. Come on, we gotta go to the north gate, Aultemus says between gasps of air. What happened? Siora insists. Zev, one of the leaders in the city, is joining us to go to the Nexus since the public isn't allowed there, Aultemus explains. How'd you manage that? Siora asks, surprised. I think the sky crackling got to him, Rylo theorizes. Wait, where's Fuson? Aultemus blurts out, worried. I don't know, I lost him in the city. He got distracted by some fans that started chasing him. Ugh, why wouldn't he just come back here? Aultemus grunts, annoyed. We have to go. We'll just find him when we get back. They all begin running to the north gate while Aultemus is distracted. He crashes into and scratches his arm against a short human woman with blonde and pink hair. Ow! Sorry, Aultemus blurts out. The woman is wearing dark brown leather armor with forest green clothing interlaced in between and over the leather. She giggles and replies, It's okay, as Aultemus cuts her off and continues running forward. She looks over in the direction that Fuson left from, almost seemingly knowing exactly where he went. Meanwhile, Aultemus gets the chance to look at his arm and doesn't see a scratch in the location that he felt the pain, so he waves it off and continues on. The group reaches the north gate after about 20 minutes of jogging through the city. Zev and Amina, both wearing normal clothing, are sitting across from each other by the wall a few feet from the gate. Zev beckons them over to two horses on the other side of the gate. So this is your other friend you're talking about? Zev begins, as Amina hits him on the back. Don't look at her, Amina commands. Zev quickly returns to his stoic complexion after being hit. Amina continues. I'm going to be joining y'all, since you promised it'll be quick, and I wanted to make sure nothing funny happens. Aultemus goes to ask a question, but gets caught by Amina before uttering any words. No questions, honey. Let's go. Amina blurts out. Zev and Amina get on one of the horses, as the other three figure out how to ride the last horse as a group. Rylo motions for Aultemus and Siora to get on the horse. As they do, Siora calms it with her magic. Rylo pats his chest and then sits crisscross again, floating in the air, and holds Aultemus' shoulder. Siora sits in front and begins to steer the horse. As they move, Rylo moves with them. Exactly, only his arm fluctuating as Aultemus bounces around.